Hey, welcome to the YouTube channel again for Christ Church students. If you don't know me, I'm Clayton Alvarez, and I just want to say thank you for joining us. And don't forget to like and subscribe. That's really helpful to us. Once we get 100 subscribers, we get to change our URL to something that isn't just a bunch of random letters. But really welcome. I'm glad to be here. Let's pray, and then I'll get into it. Lord, thank you for today. Thank you for this week. Thank you for just all of the blessings you've given us, even in this difficulty, even in what is truly, for many of us, a difficult time. You are with us, and you are using us for your kingdom, and you are changing things for your good. Lord, I pray that you show us how to be a part of that, and Lord, that you calm us, and God, just give us our purpose and show us how to glorify you with our lives in this time. We love you, God. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. So we're starting with the you effect. It's a pretty intense title there. But what we're going to be talking about over the next couple weeks is you and your effect, see what we did there, on the people around you, on the world around you. Before we begin, I want you all to think about who is someone that you know that their attitude or their presence just changes the room. It just changes how everyone feels. For example, my brother, I love him. He's really a great brother and everything like that. And when he is happy, when he's having a good time, the whole room is having a good time. Even the people not really talking to him, somehow he just brightens up the room. It's incredible. Now the thing is, on the flip side, when he's not having a good time, when he is angry, when he's frustrated, the whole room feels that too. Everyone has this feeling of frustration and anger because of his presence, because that is where he's feeling. And for a long time, he didn't really know that. He didn't understand that he had this influence, he had this effect on the people around him. You see, what we're going to be talking about these few weeks is what is your effect? How do you influence the people around you? Now, there might be some of you out there that you know what your influence looks like. You know that the people are looking up to you, maybe your brothers and sisters, or maybe your team, or maybe your club, whatever it is. You know you're in a leadership position, and you know that you have influence. Others of you are looking at this screen and you're like, I don't influence anyone. Well, which I understand that feeling. That was me for a long time, but I want you to know that you still have an effect on those around you. Even when you don't realize it, you are affecting them. And you see, God has put us all in these places where there are people that we can influence, and we are influencing. And it's up to us to make sure that that influence is used correctly. But what we're going to be talking about this week is to realize that we do have that influence. So today we're going to be in John 6. We're going to be talking about the feeding of the 5,000, which a lot of you might know the story. If you don't, no worries. So Jesus, all right, he's walking around with his disciples, and what a lot of his ministry was giving sermons. And you probably have heard of the Sermon on the Mount, maybe. He literally was sitting on a mountain, and he was like, so, these are good things. There's this, that, and the other. He's talking about a lot of really great stuff. If you haven't read it, go ahead and read it. It's considered the best. I think it's the best. But we're going to go a little bit after that. So after he's preaching on the mountain, he's got this huge crowd of people, right? I mean, and they're all sitting there, they're listening to him, and they're next to this sea called the Sea of Galilee. It's essentially a large salty lake, I believe. I haven't been there. I could just be wrong, and someone will tell me. Let me know in the comments if you want. So there's this huge crowd. They're all kind of on the side of this mountain. There's no homes, there's no restaurants, nothing around, right? So the disciples go up to Jesus and they're like, hey, everyone's hungry. And Jesus literally just says, okay, give them something to eat. Like, duh, right? Just eat food. That's his response. But so Philip, one of his disciples, he comes up, and we're going to jump into John 6, verse 7. Philip answered him, "It would take more than half a year's wages to buy enough bread for each one to have a bite." Holy cow. I want you to be thinking about that. Like, imagine if your parents, if you were like, "Hey, I'm going to have some friends over." Your parents were like, "Oh, sweet, cool, okay. Yeah, do you want us to get you food for you?" "Oh, yeah, okay, how much do you think you'll need for food?" "Oh, I don't know, $15,000 to $20,000, maybe. I don't know, maybe $50,000." Can you imagine that ask? That, can I get half of your wages, half of what you live on for an entire year to feed people for one meal? And not even to fully feed them, it says for each one to have one bite. I want the image in your mind to be Jesus and his disciples sitting on the mountain in just a sea of people, of hungry people. So Jesus says, "Well, go find some food," right? He's like, "Well, we don't have to buy it." And then furthermore, I don't think they had catering at that time. DoorDash was not delivering to the mountain. So he tells the disciples to go out and get some food from the crowd. Now, when we talk about this, we don't usually talk about the fact that I'm pretty sure more than just one kid there had lunch or had dinner, right? I'm pretty sure more than one person brought food. But in this case, the only person they find, the one person they find, is this little kid, probably, 13 or maybe a little older, who has a little bit of food. It says, another of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up. "Here is a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish. But how far will they go among so many?" Let's pause for a second. I want you guys to be thinking, I don't know if you ever had this, maybe in like elementary school or even older, when you would go to class and you brought yourself a little snack, right? You started eating it during class, you're a little hungry, and your teacher just goes, "Is there enough for the class?" And you look at your 10 M&Ms and you say, "No, there's 30 people in this class. I'm not going to cut these into 3 parts. That doesn't make any sense, teacher. These are for me. These are mine." Right? Like, that is kind of what you got to be thinking of here, is how am I going to make these 5 loaves and 2 fish go among over 5,000 people? You see, that's what's crazy here, is this kid, he was the one that stepped up. You see, I imagine Peter going around, "Hey, has anyone got some food?" And most people, like, you all have that friend, right, that never shares their food. And most people are like, "I'm not going to show him my fish and loaves. Like, the heck?" But this kid's like, "Oh, look, this is what my mom packed, right? This is what I brought to eat, but if it's going to help, you can have it." And so Peter brings the food up to Jesus, and he's like, "Hey, this is what we found. Like, this is all anyone was willing to share. This is the only thing we've got to feed over 5,000 people. How far will it go among so many?" You see, you see, we are this little kid. A lot of times, we don't feel like we have much to give. And when we look at the world and we look at what needs to be done in the world, we think, no, what I have isn't enough. What I have is enough for me. What I have is enough for mine. Or what I have is just not enough, period. So why would I even bring it forward to be used? You see, a lot of times we get stuck in this idea that what we've been given, what we've been gifted with, is just not that much, and it's not enough. But let's jump back into the story, and let's think about and let's see what Jesus does with not enough, honestly. John 6:10 through 14. Jesus said, "Have the people sit down." There was plenty of grass in that place, and they sat down. About 5,000 men were there. Jesus then took the loaves, gave thanks, and distributed to those who were seated as much as they wanted. He did the same with the fish. When they had all had enough to eat, he said to his disciples, "Gather the pieces that are left over, let nothing be wasted." So they gathered them and filled 12 baskets with the pieces of the 5 barley loaves left over by those who had eaten. After the people saw the sign Jesus performed, they began to say, "Surely this is the prophet who is to come into the world." Did you guys catch that? They filled 12 baskets with the pieces of the 5 barley loaves left over. You gotta think, they had maybe like one basket, like maybe not like half a basket full, right? To start with. And then all these people, like, I guess I'm assuming formed lines or something, and just maybe each disciple had a loaf. I don't know, and they just kept breaking it. I don't know. But it went from 5 to 12 basketfuls left over after more than 5,000 people were eating. See, Jesus took the loaves, gave thanks, and distributed it, right? He didn't make some flashy, lightning didn't come down and hit the basket and, it started raining bread, okay? It could have. And see, we know in the Old Testament that God literally has made it rain bread before. But Jesus didn't do that this time. What Jesus did was he took what someone had, he took what someone brought before him, and he used it. He gave thanks for it, and he used it. I don't know how much you all like to listen to music. I assume many of you do, but one of my favorite bands is called Need to Breathe, and one of my favorite songs by them is Multiplied. It's a worship song, and the main part of it is, "These hallelujahs be multiplied." You see, that is one thing that our God is the God of, right? He is the God of multiplication. He's the God that can take what is little and make it a lot. So you see, whenever we think that what we're bringing is too small, whenever we think that we're just bringing 5 loaves and 2 fish, it doesn't matter, because to God, that is abundantly enough. That is enough to feed the 5,000 plus and have leftovers. So that's what I want you all to be realizing, is that influence that you have, that little corner of friends that you have, your influence is enough to make a big difference, positive or negative, in their lives. And if you take the time to be intentional about how you treat those around you and whether or not you want to bring Christ into that, then you will see how big your influence really is. When you bring these gifts, these talents, this influence that you do have to Christ, he will multiply it. He will make it abundant. He will make you overflow with it, because that's what we're called to do. We're called to follow his example, to bring our gifts, our abilities, our influence to Christ. No matter how small we feel like it is, no matter how insignificant it is. See, this kid, he got up and he said, "I've got food, can you use it?" So I want to be encouraging all of you to stand up and say, "I've got something to give, how can I use it?" You see, what I want you to be thinking about this week as you do your small groups, as you're talking to your friends and your family, I want you to be thinking about, what does your influence mean? Who are the people you are influencing? And how can your influence impact them for good? We're going to pray and we'll wrap up. God, thank you. Thank you that you love us so much. Thank you for just giving us all of these different gifts, these different areas of influence. Thank you that you don't just that you never make us not enough. That, Lord, what you do is you take what we have and you make it abundant. You make it more than enough. You multiply it for your glory. God, I pray for all these students. I know that especially right now that their influence feels small. But God, I know that no matter how small our influence feels, no matter what this looks like, God, you can multiply it for your kingdom and your good. Lord, I just pray for these students, for myself, that as we walk into our areas of influence, that, God, people see something different, that the room lights up with your light, with your love, with the knowledge that you are God and that you are Christ, that you are our Savior and our Defender. Lord, just be with us throughout this week. Show us how to influence people the way you would and for your glory. We love you so much. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you for joining me today. Honestly, I hope you have a good week. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. It's really helpful, and it will help us grow and make more, hopefully, fun and funny and relevant content for you guys. But yeah, so have a great week. I love you all. Goodbye.